For Chi East Chamber of Commerce, I'm Wayne Lawrence. So is owning your own business a blessing or a curse? We're going to find out today. I've got Chuck Glover from LMI Group. How are you today?
Great.
Good. Well, thanks for coming. So I'm excited about talking to you because I know you're a property management company, but you do much more than that. When I think of property management, I know you work with associations, condo associations, you work with condo owners, but you actually do more than that. You do home improvement, some commercial construction. So let's dive a little deeper. Tell us what you do. What service do you offer?
So the core is association management.
Okay.
Condominium, homeowner association, plan unit developments, things like that.
Okay.
We have a maintenance division that does work like changing light bulbs, replacing shingles, things like that. And then we have a construction division, which gets into projects like remodeling and items like that.
Okay. And you don't need 4 people to change light bulbs, do you? That's just a joke, right? You guys are better than most people. I thought at one point I did. So, yeah.
I know I can't change one, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple other businesses. One of them is pine straw mulch.
Okay.
That makes life quite busy. So,
okay. And that's all part of an umbrella group that you have. So you got diversification in terms of just income coming in and services provided and customer base, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We're gonna tap into that a little bit because we haven't talked to very many people who had that type of structure. How many employees do you have total?
18 at the moment. 18.
And how many? How long have you been doing this?
27, 28 years,
Okay.
something like that.
We all lose track after 20 anyway.
Right.
So you've been doing this for quite some time. You have 18 employees, and you're very diversified in what you do, which obviously keeps you busy. So I got to ask the question, Chuck, is owning your own business, has it been a blessing or has it been a curse?
It's an absolute blessing. Owning your own business, it gives you the ability to do whatever you want. If you don't like that business, you can do something else, start something else. But it gives flexibility. For me, I need variety. I cannot stand repetition, probably why I have multiple businesses. But it gives you the means to make money. It gives you the responsibility on how you spend it. I believe that business owners have a responsibility to be wise with their money and how they spend that, who they give it to, what they support.
And you kind of touch upon a little bit of the excitement that many entrepreneurs have just in their business and engaging in business. I mean, there are those like myself who I don't get bored because you're never bored within your business. Too many things happen that, your day to day is always different. But I always look for new challenges. So whether that's buying another company, investing in something, consulting people in another company, just something else to focus on. Are you like that too, where after a few years, you kind of get things operating, you feel it's going pretty smoothly, and then you want to branch out and look for other opportunities as well too?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And what drives that?
That's a great question. Probably for me, it's the change, but it's wanting to help people.
Okay.
You can learn a lot from everybody you meet.
Okay.
So I always try and be a sponge, but take that knowledge back to the company, see how it can apply, making sure that the employees are respected, helped.
Okay.
They are not tools. They are not numbers. They are not a means to an end.
Okay.
It's your extended family.
So those 18, first of all, are a part of your extended family, actually. You have family members in your business, correct?
I do.
How many? A lot?
3.
Okay. So that creates its own interesting dynamic to having family members in the business. So when you guys are at home and you're carving a Thanksgiving turkey, do you bring up something about what happened at a house that week before, or are you guys able to really separate the two?
We're working on separating. I have no issues shutting it off when I go home.
Right.
And I'm trying to impart that to the rest of the family, saying leave it at work.
Okay.
Being on call at night and always someone's at a board meeting coming home late and they want to vent or let it out. You have to balance that with showing care, love, compassion that you want is to your family, but also at that point they're an employee. So it can be quite difficult, and they're slowly learning it and getting it.
So when you have and I don't have a family member involved in my business, maybe down the road, but not right now. When you have a family member involved in your business, how challenging is it to train them? Retention might be okay unless you decide to let them go, but to train them and then just basically hold them accountable. Do you have specific metrics, or are there times when there's arguments that just kind of go from business to personal, or no?
There's definite times that someone is stepping out of the office and going into the parking lot and taking a minute to calm down, or should be, including myself. At home, it's the same thing. You just really have to have a discipline with it. You have to understand that it's just a different dynamic. I started the business with my parents. And I was raised in a white collar family that was, was Mr. Glover or Mrs. Glover at work, and it helped, or their first names, Chalmers or Kay, and it instantly would split the feeling. That's not mom or dad or whatever. So for me, it was very simple. Now we go into third generation in the business, which I guess there's not a lot of those out there.
You're right.
Now I know why.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
But the third generation, the younger adults nowadays are very, very different. Than when we were.
Creates its own challenge. People comment on work ethic and attention span and those things for a younger generation. So I just think there's a challenge in terms of keeping them motivated, one, and excited about what they do. Sometimes what we do is too slow for them. It's just too boring, right? So you have your employees, but my assumption, because you work across general contracting, construction, and those things, and remodeling, you must work with contractors as well, too, right?
A lot.
Okay. What are the benefits and challenges of that part of the business?
It's tough when you have small contractors who do a good job and they grow extremely quickly and it blows them up. And we all think more is better, right? Get bigger, it's better.
Sure.
I've never wanted to be bigger. I just wanted to be better. If you do the one, the other comes all the time. And that these smaller contractors are very susceptible to family issues. If you have a death in the family, and it blows up the company, and they're gone. They do great work one year, and the next year they fall apart. And it's for all different reasons, but that's also where sometimes I'll get to coach, and sometimes I'll get to help them understand where they're failing. I've talked with a couple other management companies where they were struggling, and just talking together, working through things. I learn, they learn, and they can save their business and save their family and keep moving forward.
Yeah. And I think they appreciate that, just that mentoring, that coaching, the discussions with them, because you're right. I mean, at times, employees in general, and especially contractors, can bring home to work, and it doesn't work out very well. Or as you said, maybe they do so well, they're such a great contractor that the work gets out, right? And then everybody wants to use them, and all of a sudden they're busy and they can't meet your timeline. So within an association, you've got condo owners, and you've got probably a board of directors or advisors as a part of the homeowner association. So you have to work with that group too. Do you find yourself in between disagreements between the two at times, and how do you balance that part of it? Because when you think about a person who owns a condo, many times they want to do their own thing, but yet they have to follow and abide by the rules and guidelines of the association. How do you manage within that?
So my catchphrase or key phrase that I like to use to describe it is, you're managing a business or a corporation for an individual person's home. And that's what's hard to mesh. People go into work, they walk in the front door, and they instantly put on their work or their business attitude and thought process. And when they leave, they get in their car, they want to go home. but they're driving into another business going home. And so explaining to them how condos and why condominiums and homeowner associations are great and how it helps their property, their life, and protects their money, that can be difficult when they want to do everything that they would do at a home,
right?
In a condo
yeah.
outside, and it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So condominiums are also a great place to live, as long as they understand what the expectations are.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, condos are fantastic opportunities, and they usually go real well unless you want to stray from the course a little bit. Then they could be challenging for both parties involved.
Correct.
They definitely can be. So tell me a little bit more about the construction side of it and the commercial side, because now you're balancing residential with commercial. You do design, build work. How do you balance that part of it?
So we don't do any design build.
Oh, got you. Okay.
And we do not do new construction.
Oh, you don't? Okay. All right.
We do a lot of renovation.
Okay. Commercial renovation?
Some.
Okay.
A lot of residential.
Okay.
We do a lot of the work for our associations in understanding how to help that unit owner, the homeowner in their house. They're having a large disturbance going on, usually outside of their unit. So you have to help them with that, and then you have the workers that have to understand what they're doing, what they're touching, because some of that is owner responsibility, and some of that's association responsibility.
Okay.
So there's a lot of education that has to happen behind the scenes.
Well, you said, you answered the question, said that owning your own business has been a blessing. And, because it keeps you excited, you can focus on things you want to focus on. There, over 20-something years, there had to have been things that kept you up at night. What were those? I mean, what's the curse about owning a business?
Employee retention is a huge struggle.
Well, even, I guess, I didn't mean to put words in, but even the contractors, when we talked about that, I mean, just managing the contractors and their schedules and the quality that you expect from them, that's got to be a challenge and a curse at times. Yeah.
It is. Your customers, meaning the condominium or homeowner associations, you get a board that may not understand some things, and when they don't understand it, they have the authority to make some decisions that could be detrimental. And that's really where I struggle to leave that at the door.
Okay.
We care tremendously about the unit owners and making sure that their life is protected. Many people, their condominiums are their largest investment. And so if bad decisions get made or bad contractors get hired, there's nothing we can do about it. We work for the board. We try and advise our best. But when those happen, it's really hard to let those things go at night. I've spent many a year. I'm actually only 28. My hair is just all right. That might be a little far, but there's a lot of restless nights and sleepless nights over that. And then when you have family involved, it's even more weight. It's more stress, because if things fail, then, which we all do need to fail in order to learn more, it's very difficult to learn when things are peachy, keen, smooth. But then you have more stress when you have family, because it's the same pocketbook. Yeah.
And, that's spoken with wisdom, because I agree with that as far as the failure as well, too. There's businesses that have never failed. And there's entrepreneurs who have absolutely failed or learned or had such, traumatic challenges that they had to just really kick and scream getting through it. But boy, if you didn't learn from that, you shouldn't be in business, because every time that happens, for example, I mean, how did you get through the 2008 housing crisis? Does that affect your business? How did you get through the pandemic? What are some of the things that you did enable to get you through those things?
So that's actually pretty ironic, because in the association management business, it really didn't affect it either way. Now, foreclosures went through the roof, so we had to do a lot more work on bidding. We had to work a lot harder to make sure that the prices were as low as possible, but low doesn't always mean best.
Yeah.
So what happened was we just had to put in a lot more hours in the 2008 crisis, but everybody still has to pay their maintenance fee, and just like you do your mortgage.
Sure.
And then that keeps all the money flowing, that keeps everything working. But we had to do a lot more bidding, a lot more work. Then in the pandemic, that was actually some of our best years.
I see.
When that hit, we didn't know what was going on. We were on a large project where we were renovating an entire church. And it was in the winter, March. And then I instantly sent everybody home. Didn't know what was going to happen. And we just had the bank to take care of all the employees. I said, everybody go home until we figure this thing out. We know what we're doing. Just everybody stay home. And that was for about 2 weeks. We had an instant, as a business owner, you got to figure it out. And instantly, we had to understand how to communicate with everybody when no one was together. You're used to being in an office. Now no one's there. So how do you keep the front door open and let people come in to make their payments? Are they even supposed to be coming in to make their payments? They're not. But you had to look at those rules. And then we had fights with the state because only essential services were allowed, right? Well, landscaping is an essential service because if you don't mow the lawns, you get all the disease and the insects and bugs and animals and everything growing, and you have to take care of that. So I ended up talking with several contractors and going to the Lake County, which is where we're based out of, and talking with people to get things moving, even though the law said you can't. So I spent hours every day during COVID learning what's new today and how do we handle it. So that was really a broadside as a business owner. Oh my goodness, I have to worry about my business, but wait a minute, there's these 40 or 50 other businesses, meaning associations, that you got to figure out their business too.
Yeah.
The boards can't do it. So you get the contractors together, you all learn, you talk every single day. And that was a real eye opener on what you have to do to take care of people.
Yeah. And you said the words, businesses just have to figure it out. You have to figure it out. Business owners just have to figure it out. And that is just so key because there are going to be people who are listening, who are watching, who are thinking about getting in business, or, maybe things aren't going real well with their business and they're just trying to wrestle with that. You got to figure it out. You got to talk to folks. You got to do some research and really just kind of sit down and work a little bit harder and try to figure out, who do you turn to? Do you have associations or do you have a network of people where you have those sleepless nights? I mean, who do you turn to or what do you turn to figure it out or get advice?
You can talk to other business owners for association management.
Okay.
We have very good management companies in Cleveland. We all are part of a network and we can talk to each other pretty freely.
Is that a formal network? Is it called something like a...
It's called Community Association Institute.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
It's a national nonprofit. It creates the standard for association management. You can go to that, but I love to network. And so you meet a lot of very respectable people and you understand, you click with certain people that have had their own failures and successes and understand different things. And so I like to have quite a few people that are unrelated to my business so that you get just a completely different view. Yeah. Because you have to make it happen. Yeah. As you were just stating a little bit ago, the business owner has to make it happen. Yeah. Period.
Yeah, exactly.
Figure it out and make it happen.
Yeah. And in full disclosure, that's how I met you. I met you through a friend of ours who brought us together, and then we talked about business, and we've met several times just to kind of talk about business and growth opportunities and how do you do it, et cetera. So I agree 100%. It's all about networking and just being able to sit down with someone and get their advice and understand their pain points, but understand celebrate when they've done well and try to mirror that. I guess that mirror that behavior. So did you have any supply chain problems during the pandemic, or did your contractors have supply chain problems? And if so, how'd you manage through that?
The supplies definitely were a huge impact because it delayed projects.
Okay.
But not only did it delay it, the pricing was so volatile that it was very hard to quote. So contractors would turn in their quote, and if you didn't accept it within 1 week, then the price changed. So you're trying to plan a budget. You only have X amount of dollars, and the prices are changing constantly. And now they're coming back down. Availability is getting better, but it's still not where it was, and the pricing will never go back. I mean, the other day I went and bought my creamer for my coffee, and it was $5, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that used to be $2.50. What happened?
Yeah.
So, the impacts are still here. I think we're just starting to get adjusted to it.
So, Chuck, I know you have your family members that are part of your company now, but do you have any other financial partners or equity partners in the company, or have you had that in the past? And what's that been like?
We do not have any other partners. It's just my wife and I.
Okay.
But way back in the beginning, we did have partners, and part of it was brought in for a cash influx into the company for some growth that we wanted to do. Both of those partners have moved on. One of them was due to cancer. That was very, very hard. Hard dynamic as a business owner is you have an employee who's given their heart to the company and they're working as hard as they can, but physically and mentally with the cancer, it was just utter destruction. And that was heartbreaking to watch. And fortunately, she chose to remove herself. And it was just difficult. The other partner, it blew up. There was a lawsuit. It was a nightmare. It was atrocious. So talk about staying up at night. We have somebody that's not putting in equal efforts and things like that, and you need to move them out. Excuse me. And they don't see it that way, and you have to get the attorneys involved. And it was very, very eye-opening, but horrible.
Yeah, and I think that's helpful for anyone listening or watching because there are many who think about going into business with their best friends or a financial person, or they knew this person through a networking event, and and it's not a bad idea all the time, but you really need to sit down and talk about the what ifs. What if this happens, et cetera? What am I going to do? Now, you mentioned that they came in initially as financial partners. So how did you get through those times during the pandemic? We talked about supply chain slowing down. We talked about projects slowing down. From a cash flow standpoint, how did you manage through that? Because I know it was really tough for us, as things started to slow down.
Right. Cash flow wise, we didn't really have an issue. I was raised in a very, very strict way with the budgets, and we keep to that. And so we have a reserve, just like a healthy company should have.
Yeah.
And there's certain numbers that you should have on your balance sheet and things. And when you attain those, and until you attain that, it's really hard being a business owner because you can't take those extras out. Later on, after you get where you need to be, it's more blessing. You can have a little bit of fun.
That first part is a curse. And
it's tough.
That's what keeps people up at night.
It does. Yeah. But the cash flow issues, banks, they'll only give you the money if you have the money. And when you finally have the money, you don't need the banks. But then at some point, you need to keep the banks involved. So we have multiple lines of credit. We don't use them, or we do once in a while just to keep the lines open because you never know.
Yeah.
You have to keep your options open. Remember, you're the last defense. You got to figure it out. So it took a long time, took many, many years to get the banks to give us what we needed, and by the time we didn't need it.
Right. Exactly.
That was frustrating. That was hard.
So for anyone listening or watching and was really tuning into what you were saying and try to really have that resonate with them in terms of whether or not they should get in business, what would be the best advice that you would give them in terms of getting in business?
You better have a lot of gumption. You better have a lot of depth in your heart and in your mind to just grind. You have to grind it. Somewhere you got to put your time in and be a sponge and learn. Always keep your mind open for wisdom, learning, and you'll make it. But you also have to know you are the end. You don't have someone else to go ask. When you're sitting at a desk and something blew up in front of you, an employee or an issue or a product or a vehicle, you've got to figure it out. Sometimes you don't have a chance to ask anybody. So
great advice. So be ready to grind. Chuck,
Right.
hey, thank you very much for coming out here and sharing your wisdom and your experience. It was a good conversation, and hopefully those people who are tuning in, I'm sure they're going to learn something. All right, good. So if someone wants to get a hold of you, if there's a HOA watching this, how would they get in touch with you? Through your website, your email? What's the best way?
our website is lmiohio.com, and our email's right on there. You can just click connect, or my email is chuck.glover@lmiohio.com.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you coming on.
It was a lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, if you like this episode, don't forget to comment, like, and share.
This podcast was made possible with the support of our sponsors. Find more ways to grow at kyeast.org.